Thanks, David. Okay, my goodness. I was expecting at least half of my RSVPs to be no-show because it was raining this morning. So thank you all very much. Round of applause to yourself from me. Thank you very much. So, what are you doing here? I'm just kidding. We have a great list of speakers for you today. And the goal of these events is basically to take beginners, intermediates, experts who are, in networking or business and create a way for them all to mingle together. I'd like to see experience and inexperience blending. That's usually how, people's lives get better. For the people who are experienced, that comes in the form of fulfillment, clients. For the people who are inexperienced, that comes in the form of opportunity and insight, right? So networking, net worth, how many people know what I'm trying to say with networking and net worth? How many have heard roughly that before? All right, I got a couple nodding. So your net worth will always equal your network. And I'm absolutely blessed to have such an amazing group of people in my network. And the only thing I can do, I think, in life is to share that network. Because what else do I have to offer other than a pretty smile that I worked years to get? Because it wasn't pretty once upon a time. So I want to ask my lady over there to remind me who the first speaker was. Ernie. Thank you. I'm going to be inviting up someone really special. I do apologize, though. I created this event. I made the itinerary. I put the speakers where they are, and then I forgot about it. So I'm going to be asking my lady there for pointers all night. So bear with me. Ernie, though, does close to you. I'm not going to announce much more than that for you, but I want to say this man's been doing a public service for 20 years out of his own pocket. And I want to invite him up on stage now and have everybody give him a nice listen. This is one of his first few speeches, and I think it's going to be great because this is the make life better intention to a T. So blessed to have met you. Come on up here, Ernie.
Thank you. An event of this nature is to build a respective businesses, and that's a good thing. Very worthwhile goal. But let's take a few minutes, examine a problem that's very prevalent in our society, but there really is no way, it's just not addressed generally, and that's poverty. Like, people think about poverty, they think, oh yeah, the guy's living on the street. But there's way more to poverty than that. It's very prevalent in our society, but nobody quite knows how to address it. Like, should the government just throw money at it and then raise our taxes? Thank you very much. But I've developed an easy and incredibly inexpensive way to help people in that situation and at the same time save the environment and promote a business. 3 in 1. So BC's Human Rights Commission states that poverty in BC is high. 1 in 10 people are below the poverty line, and of those receiving basic assistance, 50% of them are below the threshold. So that 1 in 10, that could be somebody you know. It could be a neighbor, family member. So that's rather disturbing. So what do we do? What's the answer? Well, many people think, the government should just step in, but what if there's a way for individuals or a group of individuals to offer a solution without the government getting involved? In 2002, that's what happened. I started a nonprofit called Clothes to You, and we gave away clothes to the residents of Langley, free. And the people loved it. They came on a sunny Saturday afternoon, and they got clothes. But it wasn't just flicking a switch, Clothes to You was born. There was a lot more to it. Because in the year 2000, I started a single parent support group. And then I had a little bit of clothes for the parents to go through when we got together. But as time went on, they wanted me to get rid of the clothes, just focus on fun activities. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I put a notice in the community events section of the paper, free clothes, come and get them. Then my phone rang, so yep, I'm good. But the phone rang because people were getting me to come and pick up clothes. Not what I had in mind. Okay. Well, I must have done something wrong. I'll run the notice one more time, that'll take care of the problem. It took care of the problem, all right. I got even more donations. So, okay, what now? And as I was trying to figure out what my next step was going to be, there was a big write-up in the paper about a church starting up in Langley. Cool. I sent them a message. Hey, do you want to work with me to give away these clothes? And they loved the idea. So I think it was September 7th, 2002, we gave away clothes. And the people in Langley, they were thrilled, like, free clothes. Who does this? And then, well, when's the next event? Well, we haven't set a date yet. We hadn't thought about having another event, but okay, fine, not going to tell them that. Are you going to have coats the next one? Of course we're going to have coats. I didn't have any backstock, but I wasn't going to tell them that. So that was quite a good start. And then, after that rather unique start, we gradually built up more categories. So it went from just like general clothing, more adults than anything else. Clothing for baby all the way to adults. And toys, and linens, and books, diapers, incontinence items, personal items, and smaller household things. And then after a while, hey, wait a minute. There's a need for Langley, but there's a need in other communities as well. Time for expansion. That didn't always go perfectly, because sometimes you win, and sometimes you learn. And I had some learning to do. But now, we hold these events in 8 different communities, twice a year per location. So that's 16 events a year. And then I also do the Aldergrove Food Bank every Tuesday morning. And we live by the philosophy of waste not, want not. So somebody might be getting rid of, say, half a bottle of shampoo. Don't throw it in the garbage. We put it on the table because somebody with nothing will be very happy to take a half bottle. So don't waste it. We give it away. But it wasn't hard to find people who felt it was their moral obligation to tell me how this was going to fail. Oh yeah, they got all the answers. It reminded me of the story of the 2 trains. There once were 2 trains that had to climb a steep mountain to get to their destination. One of the trains was a big, powerful train. The other one was a little train with lots of miles on it. And the crowd's just go home. You're done. Retire. You're too old. But the little train didn't listen. It just said, I think I can. And the going was tough, climbing up that mountain. It slowed down almost to a stop, but it never gave up. It just said, I think I can. And once it got to the top and started its descent, it jubilantly exclaimed, I knew I could. Now, I still get the odd genius that tells me this isn't going to work. But after 20 years, I just look at the results. It's not a matter of I think I can. It's I knew I could. So when COVID came along, that kind of messed with my head because all the venues were closed to me. Public health officials shut everything down. What was I going to do next? So I had an 8x10 gazebo built in my backyard, and a 10x10 shelter in the front side yard. And after a bit of thinking, I designated 1 day a week was closed to you day. So people would have to make an appointment, and I would decide ahead of time what category I was giving away. So it could be coats 1 week, ladies wear the next week, whatever. They would make an appointment, they would come for their half-hour time slot, and they would have a choice of whichever shelter they want to shop in. So because I had 2 shelters, then I can do 2 events, 2 people groups at the same time. So that worked out. That was better than nothing. Even sometimes, of course, people don't show up. Well, that sucks, but at least I helped some people. Now, running close to you is a lot of work. Donations get dropped off at my house, or else I get calls to go and pick them up. Well, that pickup involves all the way from Surrey to Chilliwack, so I've got to schedule these trips. And that's the easy part, though. Once I get the donations back home, then the fun starts. I've got to separate them into the categories. So baby, girls, men's, boys, ladies, well, there's 4 subsections to that, and 6 other categories. But once everything is all separated, it's bagged up and labeled, it goes into one of my 4 sheds. Now these sheds are just that, they're sheds. There's no heat, no lights, and everything is separated just in the category. And sometimes I get people asking me, well, I need size such and such. No, I can't help you. You come to the event, see what's there. And having these events in so many locations, makes it challenging too for planning the dates of these events. Like if I'm doing an event in Surrey, in any one part of Surrey, I won't do another Surrey one until at least 4 weeks have passed. There's got to be distance between locations. So currently, we do Surrey Newton, Guildford, White Rock, as well as Langley, Aldergrove, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and Mission. I hope to be able to add Maple Ridge as well. And sometimes people ask me when I'm coming to other areas, like, oh, when you come to Vancouver? Well, I'd love to come, but that cloning machine is still on back order, so there's still just one of me. So like, sorry guys, I'm not coming to Vancouver. But if anybody is actually serious about this, I can train them. Even somebody in another province, I can train them how to do this, and they can do it in their community. Several years ago, a woman approached me. She wanted to do this in New Westminster, and she had a great work ethic. She lined up a venue, but she didn't have the resources she needed to make this work. She had a small car, so she relied on volunteers to transport the materials to the venue. She didn't have storage space in her house, so she rented storage and collected bottles to pay for it. That's not a recipe for success, and eventually she gave up. And it was so tragic to lose such a dedicated individual. Now, volunteers are the lifeblood of this work. I get to the venue with my minivan is so loaded that when I open the door, stuff starts to fall out. That's when I know I loaded it properly. So sometimes the 18 to 19 tables are set up. Sometimes they're not. So in that case, we have to set up the tables first. Then I attach the category signs to the tables, and we put everything on the table. Then we empty those bags and bins and put everything neatly onto the table. That setup process takes about 2 hours, and that's for a team, not one person, not two people. I've done it sometimes with just 3 people doing setup. Not recommended, let's put it that way. So for the event itself, it's a 2-hour event. So people pay $3 to get in the door, and that's the only fee they pay. There's no charge for the merchandise. Kids 10 and under get in free. And if you're a big kid, you look like you're 16 or 18, but you say you're 10, like, no, I'm going to have to talk to you about that. So the money collected goes towards my expenses. It doesn't cover everything, but it helps a bit. Now, I've been asked how close you can have expenses when we get everything for free. Well, for starters, I don't get paid for the many hours I put in. And, you know, if I punched a time card, I'd be on overtime, but I don't get paid for that. But my van insists on getting paid. It insists on getting fed. And, you know, we're looking at least 50 cents a kilometer to run a vehicle. So if I was to put on 1,000 kilometers a month for Close to You, that'd be a bill of $500. Then we've got telephone. I have to have a separate telephone line because I'm not going to put my cell phone on the materials. Then we've got website hosting, domain registration, printing, and sometimes the structures need a little bit of alteration, maybe a little bit of repair. It all costs money. And then I need those structures, even though COVID's in the rearview mirror, I need those structures for sortation and storage of the inventory. And with doing 16 plus events per year, inventory management is one of my many very important jobs. And then in addition to all the clothes and related items, we get food items donated almost every weekend. So like commercial quantities, yogurt, salads, and other things. It comes in late Saturday. So I've got the joy of working through the weekend trying to find homes for it. And when Monday morning comes, if I found homes for it all, like, yes. And if I haven't, well, then another cup of coffee and keep on working at it till I find homes for it all. And as the weather gets warmer, that's when I'll have to make some changes. I'm going to have to bring a fridge from upstairs down into my garage so that we can keep the perishables from going bad over a weekend. It's been over 20 years since I started Close to You. And I've learned a few things over the years. I've learned that there's always going to be people that need our help. So we've got to do the best that we can to help them. And then there's a group of people that are always, oh yeah, yeah, I'll help you with that, I'll help you with that. Let's just talk. Then there's people that say, I will help you with it, and they actually will help you. So those are the ones to spend time with. Now, volunteers at our events or behind the scenes are always welcome. Sometimes we need help with the structures, like maybe making a few small repairs, things like that. In December, we had the bad weather, so some of my donations got wet with the rain getting at it. Well, running it through the dryer, that wouldn't work. It would be way too expensive. So I just took a few items out of the bag at once, hung them up inside to dry. Once those were dry, put them away, bring a few more up. And the need for closed queue is not limited to the 30 kilowatt corridor. There's a need for this across the country. And the resources are there to at least partially meet that need. So I really don't want to ignore that need. We got to look at what can we do to help people. And it takes somebody that's dedicated, somebody that actually wants to do this, to do it in their community. It's not that hard to do. So I really encourage you, if you know of anyone that has a heart for doing something like this, for helping the less fortunate, I can teach them how to do this. Oh, thank you. Thanks. So since the $3 entry fee doesn't come close to covering all my expenses, I subsidize this out of my own pocket. But I'm happy to let you know I've come up with a way that you can now promote your business by becoming a closed queue sponsor, and you can attract the attention of thousands. Now, over the years, 20 years, a great many people have been helped by closed queue. And it takes a team of people to put together a closed queue event. It takes even more to promote it. But by ourselves, we can't accomplish that much. But as a team, we can do a lot of great things. So let's see how many more people we can help in the coming years. Thank you.
You have another 10 minutes or so if you maybe get some people to ask you some questions or something.
Oh,
That'd be all right?
Sure, sure.
So, you mentioned that time is one resource, but the financial resources, what kind of, not damage, but good could you do with certain kind of amounts that you're looking for?
Well, as far as advertising with closed queue, there's a lot of different possibilities, basically to suit every budget.
I think what he means is what can you do with how much...
The purpose of the funds is to cover the expenses. It costs money to run the vehicle. The biggest expense is running the vehicle.
Rephrase the question. So, how much money would it take to double the size of the operation?
Then we'd have to rent the facility, because there's only so much room in my yard before the bylaw inspectors say, you can't do that. As it is, I'm technically what I'm doing with having the structures on my yard, but as long as it's not bigger than 10 by 10, they look the other way when nobody complains. But if I was to cover my whole backyard with one big structure, well, it'd be a question of who's going to complain first, the neighbors or bylaw. So,
so then out of residences.
It's all done at my home. Yeah.
Okay, so we would have to probably look for some physical commercial space that's permanent.
Yeah. Because this is how I keep my costs down, by doing it out of my house. So I got my, I do the events are usually in churches. They give me the space rent free for the day. So I don't pay rent for a space. And that can sometimes be difficult in that when I'm trying to get a new venue, because what I've had happen a few times is I've used a church for an event, and then when I go back to them 6 months later, can we do this again? Oh no, Now we've got somebody that's paying to use our gym every Saturday, so you're out of luck. Okay. That creates a problem. Then I got to go hunting for another venue.
There's a question over there first, and then Robert.
You've been doing it for over 20 years.
Yep.
Where did the motivation come for you, and how did that develop? Because it must have been a mountain
Yeah.
to really.
Good question. Yeah.
to-
It started off with the single parents group. You know, I had the single parents group, and then I had a little bit of clothes for the single parents to go through. Then they wanted me to get rid of the clothes, okay? So I put a notice in the paper, free clothes. But then more and more clothes came in, so I knew I had to do something with it, you know, but I didn't have any idea at that point. But then when I saw the notice in the paper that this church was just starting up in Langley, and I contacted them, okay, yes, they were willing to help me give away the clothes. And then the response from the community, like, this was not something that I planned, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. It was totally unplanned. And then the response from the people that came out to the very first event, like, when's the next one? Like, we want more. So, okay. So then it was a gradual, it wasn't just like, yeah, today and then tomorrow. Like, it was gradually like, okay, there's a need for this. And so,
Success created more success.
yep, it just kept on growing. After the initial start, it just kept on growing slowly. Yep.
And I think Robin had a question.
Yeah, my question was, so on, like, you say you run this out of your property there, and you take money out of your pocket. So my question would be, if someone were to sponsor it, do you have a minimum amount that they can sponsor towards the foundation that you are doing? Or is it they just give out of the necessity of their heart? Or do you have a necessary amount that you say, okay, I need 5 sponsors, and this is the minimum amount I'm gonna need from each sponsor? Do you have a figure like that, or you just, somebody just give whatever they feel is?
I do have figured, I have an entire sheet that designates just different opportunities. So different price points. Like, you know, like you go into Walmart, you can spend $10 or you can spend $100. So I take that same approach. You know, different people have different budgets, so let's try and accommodate everybody.
Give some examples off the top of your head.
An example would be a business card ad on the brochure.
For an example here, he has had a couple of people who have started to sponsor, and he is now featuring them on his brochure. His brochures get handed out all across all of his events and everything, and anywhere he goes. And then I think there were a couple more options that he had come up with as well for people to have other opportunities to promote their business by being a sponsor.
And how much would that cost?
One business card ad is $64 on the brochure. You know, there's other opportunities too. There's like on the Close to You Facebook page, the website, advertising on the vehicles, all different opportunities.
Can you tell me your name? I'll just be myself.
No, I have your card here, so I'll reach out.
I'll give you a complete brochure.
All right.
Is there any more questions for Ernie? Everyone's good? Everyone's satisfied with that? All right. I want to just quickly add here, when I met him and I found out about his funding situation, let's get the microphone here, right? I asked him if he had ever gotten any kind of grants, and he told me a story about getting $1,000, and he was elated. And I said, well, what about government grants? Have you made any progress into looking into government grants yet?
Not yet, no.
But you're going to do that?
The biggest problem I'm having right now is that it's really hard to get grants for operating costs.
Okay.
And that's where I need the money is for operating costs. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Like,
So let's try this. Does anybody here have any experience with making any applications for grants? None whatsoever? How about contacts? I had a feeling you might. Would it be all right if you guys connected after for a little
One of the
information?
main strategies you want to do there, you're right, getting grants for operational costs is difficult. Take more money from other areas, use that to cover operation, and then apply for money, just shift
There you
things
go.
around so you can get those grants.
There you go.
awesome.
So maybe there's a conversation for you.
Yeah, you betcha.
Thank you so much, Ernie.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. Much appreciated. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to do about a half an hour of networking. So I encourage everybody to get up out of their seats, mingle around, grab some water, look at people who are eyeing you up, and have a conversation with them. Sound good? Awesome. Half an hour.
I have met Susan and